G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Trewin. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it. Welcome, everyone. Today I'm interviewing Solomon Thimothy from ClickX, based near Miami in the United States. Thanks for your time today, Solomon.
I'm doing fantastic, Troy. Thanks for having me. I'm so fired up.
Let's start with how we know each other. Queen on your team reached out, thought you'd be a great guest for us.
That is absolutely right. I love having podcasts. And if I don't do 1, 2, 3, maybe 5 podcasts a week, it's like I'm doing something wrong. So I'm just on this high of being on amazing podcasts, global top, 0.5% or whatnot. And so here we are.
We'll tell our audience a bit about your business, what it does and how it makes money.
Absolutely. So thanks for having me. I'm Solomon Thimothy. I've been an entrepreneur since basically the day I graduated college, because I was basically working until then and I was school. The way we make money is by helping other customers, other B2B brands with lead generation and customer acquisition. So my first business, which is still a business of ours, is an agency. And then by learning how to grow and scale an agency, I built a second business, which is helping other agencies grow and scale, which is just counterintuitive. Why would you go help your competition? As some people ask me, I'm like, dude, why not? Because I don't want every business to myself. I want the pie is getting bigger every day. And we built millions of dollars worth of tools. Why not let them grow and scale in their areas, in their towns? Because I can't be everywhere altogether. And then I built other businesses. So it's just a very busy life. What can I say?
So ClickX, is that the one helping the agencies or direct to the...
That is correct.
Yep.
So it fortunately, like I said, early on, we had the staff to do the work. When agencies reached out to us, they wanted to outsource some of the work that they didn't do because they didn't want to hire paid media specialists and SEO people and Google Analytics and whatever. They're like, hey, we'd like to use you guys. Would that be okay? We're like, absolutely. So we call that white label fulfillment. You know, we work with their logo and their brands, and their customers are happy. They make money without the overhead. And a lot of agencies got into this world during the pandemic, or maybe it's more of how the economy has been behaving, people getting laid off. They wanted to do something on their own or want a side hustle should something happen with their primary income. And that led to a huge influx of demand for people wanting to start agencies or marketing business because of the flexibility it offers, right? You can live anywhere you want and have a great business, and you don't have to be slave to a 9-to-5 or a retail business where you show up and you have to clean the floors. And you know what I mean? It's not that kind of a business. It's a great business if you know what you're doing and you love taking care of customers. And so that led to ClickX being such a huge thing that I had to go and spend a lot of my time stepping away from my day-to-day agency business to helping other agencies. So I swim in both lanes, and that leads to building businesses as a whole. So then I go into partnerships with other people saying, hey, we can do things together. It's just crazy how life happens. But it all started with me deciding to help somebody and putting their needs before yours, right? Like it's that servanthood. Hey, I want to help somebody grow and scale. What do I have to do? Well, I started with websites that led to lead gen, that led to ads and, marketing automation, and just kept growing and growing. So I think it really starts with that desire to want to help somebody.
Yeah, that's the next question. How did you start out?
Yeah, so I started off with my Rolodex, believe it or not. At 22 years old, you don't know a lot of people. So whoever I knew, I said, hey, it was the people that I knew were the attorneys and the CPAs and the whatever people that you knew in your circle. I just started building websites for them, and I would work at a Panera Bread. I didn't have an office or anything. So Panera Bread is a coffee shop for you. Sure, there's a lot of amazing places over there like that. A chain. So there's nothing special about this place other than free refill for your coffee. So you buy one coffee at 20 years old, free refill sounds really exciting, right? Like you don't have to buy this again. And so I would sit there and code a whole entire website. Now, it's not the most SEO friendly website you're talking. This is like 17 years ago. This was probably the worst from an SEO perspective, but They didn't have websites back then. So it made perfect sense to invest into it. And those customers told me, like, Solomon, I'm not growing my business as a result of paying you whatever it is I paid you. So then I had to figure out, how do I get people leads? So I went back to my tiny contractors and freelance web design team and I said, guys, they're not getting any customers. Can you figure this thing out? And of course, the word was out that Google has a great product called Google Ads. So I hired a buddy of mine who was working for Yellow Pages at the time. I said, brother, you're going to run the Google Ads division. We're going to drive traffic as soon as the website is live. It's all these mini steps. And so there you have it. I mean, it's one day at a time. We kept innovating to help our customers, generate leads. So today I just say we help with customer acquisition and lead generation. We don't ever say the word website.
Yep. So was that 2007 you started?
2006 is when I started as a real LLC, and whatever else. Before that, I was doing some freelance work, kind of like getting my feet wet, if that makes sense.
Right. And so any other businesses since then?
Yes, absolutely. I fortunately have a bunch of businesses. Today, the white label fulfillment that we do for clients is a business. We have cold emailing or business prospecting or outsource SDR as a business. I don't know how many businesses you want me to name, but we do have multiple businesses because, one of the things, this is probably useful, Troy, for the audience, is that when you have a product, you can do one of two things. You could just do what Microsoft does, is just to dilute the brand and create more and more and more and more things. And then after a while, you're like, what is Microsoft? Well, they're everything. They're cloud, they're CRM, they're Dynamics, there's this. Or you could say, look, the CRM is a business of its own, and it has nothing to do with Office Suite. Does that make sense? It has nothing to do with 360 or has nothing to do with this division. And so we decided to do that instead of kind of having a bloated business. We take one piece of it. We think it can be a standalone. It has its own P&L. And say, look, we need to build it out. So one of the smartest things that I did, I think, it creates a lot of expenses, is that I divide up the business very early on. We had a web design division. We had a communication division, which was more like print and all of that. They all became different businesses. Web design had a piece, which is the recurring revenue of web hosting and maintenance, which the other business didn't have. So I didn't want to mix it all up. So our customers had to write checks to different LLCs when they worked with us. But the fact was we were growing things separately, right? And ClickX was another business for digital marketing related things, and it had nothing to do with the websites. But that model kind of kept with us. We built different businesses. So as we started to grow, we realized that SDR, predictable revenue and things like that.
Yep.
We had clients that would pay us for inbound. And we looked at their business and say, look, there's 1 million people, maybe 100,000 people, that their ideal customer profile that we could do outreach to. I could take the outbound model and stick it into an inbound business and dilute it, or we build an outbound business and stay with the outbound thing. So people that want the outbound could just work with us and decide if that's the right fit. So today, that is literally a business of ours.
So with these separate businesses, did you give equity to other business partners?
Yeah, so I think that was one of the smartest things I've ever done, is that I didn't decide to do everything by myself. I don't own any of them 100%. I'm a co-founder is the best title I can give myself. I was there in the beginning and I'm still here, building things, but there's other people that are kind of like the CEO, if I may, of the business, or they're looking out for the best interest of the customer, the team, the whole experience, so they could do the day-to-day. And I just like the vision casting part. I like a lot of the things that I do, building the brand. So I go out there being on podcasts, but they don't, because they have managerial duties and leadership duties and hiring and whatever else, customer success. Had I not done that, believe it or not, Troy, I wouldn't be here. I would be dealing with paperwork and emails and support chats or whatever else, you need to be dealing with as a business. And I don't start one unless I have that person that I feel really confident that we can go into this thing together. Does that make sense? And say,
Yeah.
hey, we're going to do this thing. Are you down? And they're making a portion of the revenue. So they are vested interest in growing this business. So more and more is partnership rather than employees. And we're now negotiating salaries and bonuses to, hey, if we make $10 million, I don't know what that is for you, but it could be $1 million. Like, is that something you're interested in? And now you have a different relationship.
And how did you go with choosing those business partners, choosing the right ones? I've had over 30 business partners, not passive investors, but business partners working alongside me in the trenches in 16 businesses in 3 countries over the last 25 years. And I certainly didn't get it right some of the time with choosing the business partners. Did you choose correctly every time?
I have had huge mistakes in my life. And look, there were times I cried. I mean, nobody wants to admit that they sit there and cry. And my employees had to bring me tissues. It's joke to me, but at the time I was not happy because there was a lot of money at stake. I mean, we were going to lose as a walking away from deals and whatever it is. But that gave me so much experience that, was it worth it? Oh, absolutely, it was worth it. My family, I come from an entrepreneurial background. They went and did partnerships with people that didn't work out, and they bought buildings together, and you know what I mean, $1 million equipments. And look, if somebody's going to be owing that equipment, one of them is not going to pay. You know that. And whoever is the guarantor, they're going to get stuck with the bill. However, was it worth it? Did they grow? Did it make sense at the end of the day? I know there's a lot of negative experience people have faced, and I've heard people say, I'll never do partnerships again. I think you really have to be wise with who you work with. And what I've learned in those negative experiences that you have to know the motive of the person and why they're doing it. There's a lot of times there's people's motive is just money, or I just need, you know what I mean? And then those are some of the famous breakups is because they weren't really rooted in the right thing. Somebody had the wrong motive, and it was always cutting corners so that they can have better margins, or I want to take home, 10 million or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. I'm here to serve, right? So I like to serve my clients and figure out. And money to me is scorecard. That's how I look at it, right? It's a scorecard. If you do well, that's because you're doing a really good job on executing what it is that you say you do for your clients. So long story short, I realized that we didn't align on that. That's why it was a bad partnership. It's not what we built together, if that makes sense. The business was a great business, but then you look around the behind the scenes, like some people had different reasons why they did this. And that comes out real quick, if you know what I mean, when something doesn't go right. And it's kind of like King Solomon. This is a story, just got reminded. There's 2 ladies that claimed that the kid was theirs. I don't know if you know the story. There's 2 women saying, it's my kid. And the other lady says, it's my kid. And King Solomon's like, I'm going to cut this baby in half and give it to both of you. And then one of the moms says, look, don't kill the baby. Just give it to her. And then he realized that it's that lady's mom. That's her kid because she didn't want the baby to die. It's the same thing, right? When something goes wrong, you know really what the motive is. I think for anyone that's listening that has this question, or they're wondering, I think you really want to make sure that your partnerships is based on serving the customers and building something long-term. It is not short-term. So like Warren Buffett, when he invests into companies, this is my investment model and thesis ever since I've been following Warren Buffett. It's like he doesn't buy businesses looking at the stock price or stock shot up. NVIDIA is blowing up. Let's go buy NVIDIA. You know how many millions of people probably bought NVIDIA because it's blowing up? If Warren doesn't own it, it has nothing to do with the stock price. He looks at the business. He looks at their books. He looks at the value, the intrinsic value, and he says, I like this business. The stock price could be $5, it could be $50, it could be $500. But he's buying the business, which is very fundamentally different than buying stocks because you heard it on the news that it's going to go up. Those people aren't buying businesses.
Do you have some key numbers you can share to illustrate the growth of the business over the 18 years?
Yeah, we do have around 80 people that is responsible. We right-sized it around the pandemic times because a lot of people moved on to becoming contractors and whatnot. But we've been growing because, like I said, our businesses all need human capital, so there's nothing else I could do. We bring on how many ever SDRs and AEs that we need, yeah, to sustain growth. I think we have some sort of formulas on how to do that by now.
When was the moment you felt like you had succeeded?
I think today I've been coached so much. If there's such a word called overcoached, Troy, I could use that for myself because I've literally invested as much as I can invest. Sometimes, I used to think that I made that much money that I pay, investing into other people, helping me figure out stuff that I don't know. And today I know that that's a mindset question. Does that make sense today? At the time, I didn't know it was a mindset question. I've always found myself successful, or I knew I was going to be successful. So every dollar I invested, I knew I was going to make more, or I was going to make more and more and more. And today I look at it and say, somehow I was given some of the best mindset techniques that you could ever have on the planet without ever knowing at 20 years old. That's just mindset. Something about me just told me that, Solomon, you're going to win. This freaking thing is going to work. Because if you say or think that it's not going to work, Troy, and I know you're going to lose that fight, right? Somebody is going to eat your lunch. But if you feel that so deeply that this is going to work, what do you think is going to happen? And today people say the universe is just going to make it work. Well, I don't know. That's what I feel like. So did I use revenue as a metric to know that I won? Yeah, probably in my early days. But today it's kind of like a different game. Like I don't go into anything thinking I'm going to fail or this is going to be a miserable loss. It's like we're going to make outbound email work when Google and Microsoft doesn't really want you to send any cold emails. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. What does success look like to you?
so today I got to coach entrepreneurs that are scared to death about going into business. I didn't have to do that before, but today I got off a call with a guy in Canada. He's like so scared. He's like, is this going to work? I'm like, listen, brother, it is going to work. To him, success is probably getting his first client. For me, success is being able to make more babies of businesses. Businesses create more babies, right? Like other businesses. So it's very different for me. It's not necessarily just the take-home pay as much as that is, all of us would have been bored because then we wouldn't have nothing else to do, right? And I think it's the passion, it's the team, mentoring people. Having a team to mentor is extremely enjoying, right? It's like, oh my gosh, like I get to invest my time with these people. So to me, it's not just the numbers, although numbers absolutely is my motivation. Like at the end of the day, like, if you wanted me to see me here at 4:30 in the morning, we got to be doing something right, or you lose your interest. But it's also just one aspect of it. So will I say numbers is everything? To some degree, because I think like that knowing that you're doing the right thing, it's in my heart, like that this is your purpose. That to me pays so much more dividends. I never get bored. You can get, you beat me down, but I'll be back tomorrow. Trust me, I'll be back with vengeance tomorrow, and we'll be figuring something out. So that's success to me.
Number one thing you'd recommend to marketing a fast-growing business?
Yeah, I'll share a formula with you. Is that okay?
Yeah, go for it.
Because that would be the right answer. So Troy, after what, 17 years now of figuring out things and failing miserably and helping so many different customers, hundreds and hundreds of brands from small business to multinational companies, publicly traded, we realized that the best of the best of the best brands did something very fundamentally different from some of our not the greatest, but they're way better than industry average clients. They were working on two things, and one, when we say we're working on it, we're working on campaigns, whatever you want to say, executing deliverables. There were aspects of our job relating to acquiring leads on the front end, and aspects of our job that is related to retaining the leads that we just acquired and retaining the customers, upselling, cross-selling, things of that nature. So we made a formula to grow whatever it is that you want to grow, 10 times, 2 times, 5 times. And every single business that we work with, we come up with that go-to-market strategy. What are we doing? How much are we trying to grow? We deploy this growth formula, which is acquisition plus retention equals growth. And within the acquisition side, there's 2 elements. Within the retention side, there are 2 elements. The acquisition side, depending on the severity of how fast they're trying to grow, there's 2 elements what we're looking for. So this isn't tactics like SEO or paid search. The tactic is, are we getting all of the people that are literally in market trying to buy this product right now, which is capturing the demand? That's a very open-ended question. It doesn't mean Google search or trade shows, or are we getting at least a conversation from the people that are looking for this? And that's the fastest way to grow, in my opinion. That's 3 to 5%, as you know, in the market. They're talking to somebody. The question is, are they talking to you? Then there's about 90% of the people that are not going to buy anything right now. That's not even a thing on their radar, which is where we create the awareness and create the demand so that when that person is ready, we've plastered the internet, because we're in digital, of course, that we're the right fit for them, that this is an option, this is a consideration. They should think about this brand and put them next to somebody else that could work. That happens automatically because you're always capturing demand. Hypothetically, Google searches, they put in a last minute search to find something. If you don't show up, then you kind of lost that capturing demand. Creating demand is completely the opposite. There is no Google search paid. There's everything else but paid, right? Like that's more of getting your views on your videos or downloading ebooks or organic growth, everything else, digital PR, things that showing up on podcasts, leaving that paper trail. This company's legit. You should work with them. Look at their LinkedIn reviews or whatever it is that people look for. Gartner put out a research on how complex buyer's journey has become, and it's unbelievably complicated. Just put buyer's journey Gartner, you'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is how complicated buyer's journey has become. And I don't know if you know that Google did a research too. They said that it takes 7 hours of content of somebody over 11 touch points and 4 different places, emails, podcasts, whatever it is, before somebody who is a stranger to even want to decide to work with you. So like creating demand, it's the 7 hours of content. Like you need to put stuff out there, right? That's going from a stranger to a buyer. So that's all on the left side. The right side is equally complex, which is why we have CRMs today that have automations and drip sequences and lead scoring and all of these AI bells and whistles. Is that I have the same problem too. We got leads last month. Where are we with them? Are we nurturing them? Do they forget about us? Is the strategy to nurture them just more email blasts? Once one blast for all kind of a thing? Or are we doing some segmenting and reaching out saying, you know what, this guy is this industry and this is the job title, so we should be creating this type of resources, or these people are, they got this weird problem that it's not a big deal for us, but we should create something unique for them. So we speak to their pain. We should be doing segmented emails, not a mass emails. We should be making little, mini classes and webinars. So we hit up the CEOs with this thing, and we set up the directors with this thing, and we hit up the resellers with this. I mean, these are things that we do for clients, right? Like instead of saying we have a CRM with 30,000 contacts and, we're just going to email everybody. And what you email is a promotion. That's worse than anything you could do. It's better than not emailing at all, is to send them an ad, right? And lastly on this is retaining customers. And that's kind of like, I use Apple as an example. Apple sells you an iPhone, but they don't have any stop of selling you more things. I don't know if you're an Apple fan, but like
No,
all of these brands, but all of these brands have one thing, is your share wallet. How big can I make it? Right? Zoom wants to sell you this, and they want to sell you a team license, and they want to sell you the webinar license, and they want to sell you the phone lines. That, by the way, is reverse engineered, in their marketing, how that gets approached. You talked about NPS. If they're happy with Zoom meetings, boom, hit them up with the webinars, right? If that NPS is good, that means that, hey, we can probably get more licenses out of this business. So this right here is what we do for ourselves. This is how I grow those businesses. This is what we deploy for our customers. And this is available for free. Like people can go and learn this. I do workshops for free. Why? Because I just want people to deploy this rather than stressing out about growth and panicking that they can't make money, because they're just thinking about very bottom of funnel, short-term mindset. That's what drives more of that famine mindset and not this abundance of, hey, I want to grow and I'm going to deploy something that's going to work on its own, even when I'm sleeping.
How did you fund your business?
Absolutely. So I don't like investors for many reasons. I worked at startups that we were under pressure because the investors want to know where the numbers are. Investors want to know where the money is. Investors want to know where the customers come. So what I did is something completely different. I used our customers as our investors. So if our customers aren't happy, you know what I mean? That's the ultimate person that we need to be working towards. So we use that as our measurement to this day. Now, a lot of companies don't like that because they want to go and get funding and grow and scale. But we think it's the best thing to do is make your customers the thing that, that invest in you, use that funds to grow that business, and they're going to be your long-term partner rather than a third party who just wants growth. Like, think about all my VCs friends that are putting in money. So the CEO of the company has two real ultimate decisions: make a good product, that's great, but the real thing is I got to make my investor rich. My investor wants to exit. My investor wants his money. He wants me to IPO. And so you're constantly thinking about, do I make my investor happy? Do I make my clients happy? So when it comes to decision making on long-term and retention, they're always going to tell the customer no because my investor wants my P&L to look a certain amount. We are the opposite. We care about the relationship more. And if we did that, we'll get more money because we're delivering value that is in turn our investors. So it's completely upside down. It's not for everybody, I'll be honest with you. But I took $0 in loan to build what, 5, 6 businesses, and now I don't need it. But if I had to, I still wouldn't do it, because then you should work so hard, make your customer make that much money. The paying you 10 grand or 20 grand is not that much for them because they made $1 million or whatever it is, right? So you do the math. So that's my model. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, no, it's good. If you were to start up today with plenty of funding, would you go into your industry?
If I had started with it, I would probably do something completely different. I would do commercial real estate, or I would do something different because I know how to grow a business. I just gave you the growth formula. It doesn't have to be a marketing business because I've been in it for so long. I know it, and I need to my mind goes into marketing mode. So I invest in other businesses. The reason I mentioned commercial real estate is it's an asset. I know how to get tenants, and I know how to get property management companies. I'll probably close the property management on getting more properties like me. It's like I would do things like that. They're just fundamentally different. It's just that it's more of acquiring businesses or things like that. It's just a different business. Would I do a different industry? Absolutely. I've looked into education. I've looked into different industries. Real estate is just one of them that is really exciting to me. But I'm not in it. I'm not selling commercial real estate or anything. But if you ask me that question, that's what I would say.
Can you outline the most stressful point in your small business growth journey so our audience can learn from it?
Yeah, man, I think this is my most stressful point, and also my point of a pivot. We started that business in servicing clients, and we were growing, and people wanted to get leads, and we were trying to figure out how to get leads on Google Ads, and things were growing. I look at the business from a systems perspective. I just been a systems guy. To this day, I'm building systems so I can take on more. You're as good as your systems. People don't realize that. And most people are working on acquiring clients, and then they have a broken system. They can't grow it. So I realized that our fundamental issue was we're spending too much time making reports and doing all these things that are not adding value to the client's campaigns. They're not getting them more results, but the customers need reports and all this stuff to make them report to their CEOs or whoever it is. So we built a platform that's at the time was ClickX. We pivoted, right? Like at the time, it was like a software rather than a service company. So we built integration to Google Ads, integration to Google Analytics, integration to everything that APIs existed. We put everything together. It updates every single day. It would check for the Google rankings and show them how many, spots they went up. It would then download the calls from the PPC so we know which keyword got the calls. Like, we were building a software. The problem was that I didn't have any money to build software. I didn't have any funding. I didn't go and raise seed money and friends and family and all of this stuff that, it's so easy to make $1 million, and then go and create a product that people, may not succeed. I had to come up with the little bit of money that we generated, and everybody said, that is a bad idea, Solomon. Why would you do this? Hired companies overseas, got burned, went and got another company, spent more and more money. But I think that taught me, that was my most stressful part, is like, are we going to make it? Because I'm just like Elon Musk over here trying to, production hell kind of thing. Don't have money. And if this doesn't work, we're kind of burned. But it worked. It really, really worked. We built a platform that is growing every single day. It runs so much of our processes. It makes my life so easy to onboard a client or employee and say, here's all the things you need to do. Everything, that's what we sell to agencies. I'm like, here's the system to generate leads, close deals, and do the work. That was built 10, 15 years ago when I didn't know what I was doing, right? Like if I hadn't done that, I would never have the leverage that I have today. So leverage, like points of failure when somebody's not working, sick, leaves your company, whatever it is. It's the system that does the work. Does that make sense? So we could all take a break. We could all take a vacation. Our developers could take a vacation. Our companies aren't going to have any problems. Like that was because we decided that we're going to be a software-driven, tech-enabled service company rather than Excel spreadsheets and Microsoft Words. Nothing wrong with that. But if Molly isn't there, nothing's going to happen. So today I give a direction to our teammates, like update our CRM system based on certain things that the customer does. If the customer does this, change the deal stage. That's because I have engineers on call. I can make one phone call, tell him do this. He takes notes and he says, well, I can automate that. What does that do from a sales perspective? Tremendous. How much human interaction is required? Zero. But I had to make that decision to hire engineers rather than SEO professionals. Do you see what I'm saying? That was the most stressful and the most rewarding part of my life.
What area in business do you feel you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
Yeah, numbers. I'm not a numbers guy. I'm a creative guy. So I don't come with, memorization of this is the SG&A and you got to do this. And I don't have that. And I envy my friends that are so good at numbers. They're always like, know your numbers. You'll never hear me say that on a podcast.
What have you enjoyed the least about managing fast growth?
I don't like people managing. I like a self-managing company. And so that's what I do. I hire people and say, you're doing this part. And if it fails, it's on you, not to put all this pressure on you. But hey, you need to know I'm not going to take home this problem. And they also feel like they own the problem, which is way better than having an employee and you own all the problems, right? So I don't like people managing. It's not because I don't like the people. I love the people. I just don't want to be sitting here managing people.
What do you love most about growing a small business?
Yeah, I think it's the not doing the same thing twice ever in your life. I mean, if that was a thing, I'm in. I didn't know that was going to be a thing. And I'm never dealing with the same problem. I'm always dealing with different kinds of problems. As I said, systems are everything. And I know that because all my systems break. And then you realize, like, what do we do to not have this again? And today I don't have to answer that question. Your people will tell you what we should be doing differently. And so just that over and over and over again is one, how you lose all your hair. And two, it's kind of how you build a business that works.
Yeah. What has been the biggest mindset shift for you in your small business growth journey?
Yeah, I know. I got to tell you, I'm a huge believer in investing in yourself. Had I not done that, I would have like 90% of the problems I see, it's not their innate capability in selling or servicing or wanting to grow and having a business. It's they get themselves in the way of their own success. This is literally what I see all the time. And so fortunately, I knew that my systems wasn't going to get me to where it is. I'm sure you know the book E-Myth, and I went and bought their coaching program, I don't know, 10 years ago. And I was paying this coach to tell me baby steps how to generate leads and what to look for and all of these things. In fact, I went and met Michael E. Gerber, the CEO in California. That's how much I love building systems. Interviewed him on podcasts and all of that. And the reason I see that is that then I went on to the next program, which is marketing, or the next program, leadership, the next program. I'm going to a 2-day seminar tomorrow, leadership summit. All of this was because I knew I didn't know everything. And I don't want to know everything, but I do want to know more about, how to grow and scale people, teams, what's in it for them, questions. And so today I'm in like a program by Dan Sullivan. It's called 10X. Huge, 50, he's been coaching entrepreneurs for 50 years. I go all over Canada, all over the United States and do workshops sit in workshops and learn things that I don't know. But why do I do that? Because it is so inspiring to step away from your business, 30,000 feet in the air. What do we want to do? Why do we want to do this? And come back rejuvenated. Like working on the business is so priceless. So priceless.
Yeah, I agree. The number one habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
Yeah, honestly, I don't check out. And I'm not saying that resting is a bad thing. But at the end of the day, they say you own the problems. The problems you create, you own. And I've been fortunate enough to not be burned out by all the problems, which a lot of people can't handle. I just find ways to, I guess, like I said, if I have a problem I don't know how to fix, I tell myself maybe I need to learn something more about this department. I got to learn more. I think it's not giving up. I think most people give up when things get tough and they go back to, I don't know, smaller business, lifestyle business. And I'm not in it for that. You heard me say 10X. It's one of my mantras is like, how do I help other people 10X? Not me. And that would help me 10X. So the first thing I do is I say, well, how can I help Troy? What do I got to do for Troy? What does Troy need the biggest help? It might not even be something I do. It might be connecting it with a CPA or finance person or something else. And then now Troy starts to get success and Troy might refer me somebody else. Do you see what I'm saying? It's that part. And it's going to get tough, don't get me wrong. But most people don't see it that way. They see it as, well, I got to grow my business. So what am I going to sell? They go in with trying to sell something to somebody. And then all of a sudden they don't sell anything because they already understood that this guy's not, he's just trying to sell me stuff. I understand everybody needs money, but it doesn't mean everybody's a good fit for you.
Are you a small business owner who is ready to take your professional growth to the next level? Sign up to the Grow a Small Business Weekly newsletter. This is your go-to email every Friday and will take about 2 minutes to read. Join the Grow a Small Business community who, like you, are investing in their professional development. Each week, we curate valuable resources, whether it's expert advice, books, podcasts, industry insights, or actionable strategies. We've got you covered. Leave your email at growasmallbusiness.com/weekly. Now, you've got up to 80 team members. Can you talk to how you've added people to the team, some wins, mistakes, and advice for those listening?
Oh my gosh. I could tell you I'm not the best HR person in the world. As I told you, I'm not in a people management business. I like leadership. So one of the things that I've done now is getting people aligned. It's really, really important. Making sure every single person that is in the team feels heard. I hired a third-party HR company because, again, I don't want to build HR. As you have people, you're in the HR business, you're not in your business anymore, which is absolutely saddening because I thought I was in the business of selling whatever widgets I sell. But no, you're an HR company. You got to hire people, time clocks and punch in and punch out and payrolls and taxes and FICA and all this stuff you don't have maybe in exactly what we have here for an Australian company. But now you're like dealing with this thing. Oh my gosh, it's absolutely a disaster. But that's not enough. Getting a paycheck, if I just had to pay people, no. Now you got to deal with all of their problems. What does Mark want? What does Luke want? You know what I mean? What is his purpose for 3 years that he's gonna? So I hired another company and they have to do some journaling. So they will get in the middle and say, hey, look, this employee is disengaged. Got to go do something with Mark here. This employee is showing signs of whatever it is. You know what I mean? Disalignment. Oh my gosh. Could I have done that 10 years ago? I wish. I didn't know this kind of things existed. I went and joined these programs. I meet entrepreneurs. I ask them, what is it that you do? It's like, hey, we help teams get more aligned. I'm like, what? How do I sign up? Because, you're an entrepreneur. You're fixing the problems. You don't really see the trees. You see the forest.
Yep.
And you got to hire people or find resources like that to then mend your people. So over time, when we grew, we had HR team, but we were scaling the HR team to manage. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it gets often overlooked. And it's not the people that are getting overlooked. It's the one-on-one scaling, that bonding and that relationship and that culture. It gets overlooked. And it's
That's the next question. What are some of the things you recommend to building a sustainable and kick-ass culture to help with the growth?
Yeah, I say you got to have a shepherd, because a lot of times sheep kind of go astray and they don't have a shepherd. We used to do a lot more team meetings, team meetings, team meetings. We did team outings, which is different from team meetings. It's just so many little things that we try to do, because remember, we get paid to deliver results. We don't get paid to sit around and do kumbaya all day, right? Like, so you got to balance the team building, the bonding, and also delivering, high quality work in an extremely tight timeline. We, like, customers say, I need this email to go out this Friday. We're going to a trade show Monday. If this doesn't happen by Friday, they don't care how many other projects we got going on. Believe it or not, they're like, you're on my marketing company, get it together. So we have to be like, let's pick up the pace. And oftentimes that could be at the expense of somebody not being able to go do something or whatever it is that they plan on doing. So we got to find backup. I mean, it's enormous amount of project management. So I would say that if you can figure out how to get every single person on the team feel heard, that would be the thing. And if that's a Slack channel, automated message every night, how you feeling? I mean, I'm doing all kinds of things. Accountability, so we know that they're doing things, but also, are they connected to the vision, the mission of the company? I am not saying I'm perfect by any means, Troy, because we all know our businesses is an extension of ourselves, and we're broken human beings. We're gonna have broken systems. It is what it is. No one's perfect.
No, that's right. Tell our audience how you've handled balance.
My family, my wife is extremely understanding of how much demand this is on the business. So if you don't have somebody that understands, it's going to be tough. My balance is that I spend enormous amount of time when I have it with them for maybe days on, but then they may not see me a whole lot in other times. I'm here at 7 o'clock at night doing this podcast with you. Most people wouldn't be here this late. Almost every night I'm the last car in the parking lot. Do you know what I'm saying? So like, I can't tell you I'm home like the Facebook executive every night for dinner. Can't, because when I'm working with people on the West Coast, which, for you, it's like 3 hours behind. You and I are 24 hours behind, or whatever it is. That's 3 hours behind. I'm on the East Coast, they're on the West Coast. My 6 o'clock is their 3 o'clock. If they want to talk to me 4 o'clock, it's my 7 o'clock. Either I work with them or I don't. Do you know what I'm saying? So what are you going to do? Am I going to blame Pacific time and East Coast time is 3 hours and say, we can't talk to you? Or I say, yeah, absolutely. Let's connect. Let's figure out if this is something we want to do. Then let's say they did decide to work with us. Now I'm stuck. Do you see what I'm saying? So I got to find another resource that's willing to do this kind of stuff. So it's not practical to be in the Zen all day, every day. I don't know if entrepreneurs, I don't know any entrepreneur that could do that. So I would say you got to figure out what the balance is. As long as your loved ones know why you're fighting and what it is, as long as they don't feel neglected, I think I'm okay. And my family does an amazing job covering me with love. So they don't give me the guilt. How's that?
How much professional development have you invested in yourself? Sounds like a lot.
That is my number one go-to. I have at least 5 books I'm reading at a time. Audible, now AI reads it to you, and whatever else. Courses I'm not that great at. I like in-person things because I can't disconnect. I have a hard time disconnecting, so I can't be like, I'm going to watch a course, and then I'm like, bing, an email pops up. So I like to leave and sit and study, network, then come back, right? So tomorrow and the day after, I'm not here because I'm going to go to a leadership event. But that's what I mean. So I like to do that because when I'm away, so for instance, these workshops I told you, you fly to another city, you stay at a hotel, you spend 8 hours, in a workshop doing all this stuff, networking and eating lunch, whatever it is, and then you fly out the next day. I've gone about 2.5 days of like solitary, just studying, thinking about things. You come back so much more rejuvenated than if I had to sit here, did 8 hours of Zoom workshop. That would be a complete waste of time. Right?
Yeah. Have you had mentors or coaches along the way?
I have had so many mentors and coaches along the way. It would be an unlimited list. from people that I met at my gym that coach me, not about exercising, more about life and whatever else, to actual coaches I paid tens and thousands of dollars to teach me things I did not know. It is my number one hack is to invest when you don't know what you're doing. You go find somebody. Literally, you go find somebody and say, hey, would you teach me this? Would you give me I paid guy thousands of dollars just to teach me a thing or two about cold email, just like, because he had a great strategy that worked. Then I paid somebody else, like, what's your strategy in media buying? Somebody else, what is it that you do? Right? Like a lot of times you realize that they're not going to just make a YouTube video and put out there exactly how they do things. You have to get to know that person and say, look, I'm really interested in learning what it is that you do. And I know you don't teach and this is not like a product. Can I pay you so you can show me these things? And those are just genuine conversations because I know they know what they're doing. And I know a lot of things, so I try to help them in return, right? Like I'm still happy to help you with whatever, but I value that. So unlimited times like that I've done. And then the reason I say is I have a person that does all this real estate and all these things. I'm trying to learn how to do that, which is why I told you one of my interests is because I have a person that has been doing it for, I don't know, 15 years or something. So we go to lunch, we learn, we discuss. He wants to build a fund so we can take money from other people, invest in these properties that are beat down, they're not well maintained, but acquiring the buildings, putting them up, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. Like, how can I be part of this? Do you see what I'm saying? But it's an area I don't have any idea, but I'm going to have to invest a lot of my time and money and whatever else. And I'm down because I'm learning something that I wouldn't otherwise learn doing what it is that I do right here.
Do you have a board of directors or advisors?
We do have advisors, and not as, board meetings every 90 days and things like that, because these are a little bit more fragmented, but there is a bunch of advisors that we turn into for every little thing. I mean, even sometimes hiring a leadership role. And every time we didn't do that, we've gotten into trouble, believe it or not. So should you have one as a small business? Yeah, you probably should. You should have one in every field. CPAs, someone in the attorney field, right? Somebody who's looking over your contracts and things like that. Somebody's on the HR side. Somebody who's just advising you generally, like knowing where you want to go with your business. They'll always ask you, is this what you want to do? Because you said you want to do this. And now you're buying 18-wheel trucks. Like, it makes no sense. Keeping you, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're always getting sold by the shiny object. So they'll always guide you in the right direction. Say, hey, if you want to do it, go ahead. But last time we talked, you told me this is what you wanted to do. So I think that is absolutely invaluable. And those are just people that come in your life at the right time, believe it or not. They don't do it for money, although they might be people you pay for services, but you take them advice because, I say this about salespeople. Salespeople, if you're called a salesperson, you're probably not going to get a lot of respect. You're probably not going to be, treated like a consultant. But when you're an advisor, they'll never question what you say. So you want to be a trusted advisor. You don't want to be a salesperson, right? This is me coaching now, those entrepreneurs. Those people have businesses. They sell us stuff, but they don't I don't question their invoices anymore. Does that make sense? Like, they've gone way beyond their call of duty. So now they're a trusted advisor. Same thing that we do for our clients. They take our advice and they decide to do things or not decide to do things. But think about that. Like, they value what you say because they know that you don't have your best interest every time you talk. You have their best interest, which is ideally where you and I want to be as entrepreneurs. If you want to have a lasting business, you don't want to be just doing things because you want it.
Yeah. All right, Solomon, on to our final 5 questions. What do you think is the hardest thing in growing a small business?
The hardest thing is probably getting out of your own way. I would say that getting out of the doing work into leading. A lot of people are in, just kind of like they want to do it, everything by themselves. They don't know how to delegate. I deal with this a lot. Think about it. I heard this from Kevin O'Leary on Shark Tank. It's better to have a big watermelon and you own 10% than a grape and you own all of it. So like those kinds of things come to play when you're actually trying to do it by yourself and it's all of it, keep it small, keep it all. I hear that. And I hear the 10X mindset. that I could grow and add more people. So you just got to figure out what it is. Most people are afraid. I think it's the fear than like not doing it. They're scared. So they want to keep it smaller and, keep it a cherry tomato. So I'm not that. I want to grow, and I want the right people to come into my life and take the problems out of my head and just go figure it out and scale. And I think that's holding a lot of people back. It's not that they couldn't do the service, that they couldn't do the business, or they're incapable, personally speaking. It's that they haven't figured out that they need to hire, and they haven't sold themselves on that deal.
Favorite business book which has helped you the most?
Knowing that I read like 4 or 5 books a month, I would say the ones that help me the most are personal development kind of books, like the Brian Tracy's of the world, because again, there are not as many tactics as you waking up and going and fighting for it. I would recommend those kinds of books if you're struggling in the earlier part of your career in your business, because I think that's all mindset. And then if you're struggling and, scaling up, then I would go into more of the tactical books, the Hermosi's of the world, if I may, and then go and do things like what line do you use then, and what kind of email marketing, what does HubSpot do? Those are the tactic things that don't help you in the small. It's not that you don't need to know those things. You got bigger problems to figure out, right? Like what you do as small is what's going to happen when you're bigger. If you don't do the right things when you're small, you're going to stay small for a long time.
Any great podcasts or online learning tools you use for your own professional development?
Not anything particular. We like Guy Raz. I don't know if you know Guy Raz. My wife got me into it. Kind of knowing how people's business started. It's one of those part of a big network. But personally, I'm a book guy, so I just burn through books. But I know there's a lot, Business Wars. There's a lot of these podcasts. But Guy Raz is the one, How I Built This. That's one of my favorites.
One tool you'd recommend to help grow a small business?
That's a tricky question because you can do a lot with just google.com. So you don't need Trello. You don't need a particular tool. You don't need Notion or Airtable or all of these buzzwords and ChatGPT's paid version. I like google.com because if you know how to use google.com, you probably could do a lot of damage as a business owner. Believe it or not, that was the original ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And it's still very powerful. Practically everything I do it from some kind of an advanced search parameter. Yeah.
Finally, my favorite question. What would you tell yourself on day one of starting out 18 years ago?
I would say take more risks. I would say take more risk. I did a lot and I'm here because of it. I could have taken more, but again, I was 20 years old. I didn't know what I didn't know, right? So I was scared. Most of the time, you don't know what you're doing and you were afraid to take on big projects because you didn't think you would do it. You could get it done and you didn't want to make a fool out of yourself, but I wish I did. Because every time I took big projects, there was monumental changes in our business. That confidence gave us the ability to take on 6-figure projects and then bigger projects and bigger projects. So today I would be like, I'm taking the project. I know how to hire the people. Listen, let's go. If this is something you want to do. Not that every project is a good fit. If it's a good fit, I no longer have that fear, if that makes sense.
Yep. Well, thanks very much for your time today, Solomon. Really enjoyed our chat. Congratulations on the growth over the 18 years, starting out on your own in that Café, up to around 80 team members now. Do you want to maybe mention if people want to reach out, where's the best place they should go?
Yeah, absolutely. I shared the growth formula briefly. I built a website because, again, I inherently love the word 10X, not as a buzzword by any means, as a means to help other people 10X. And then I built a website called 10x.info, not .com, .info, because I get on these podcasts, Troy, and they always tell me, give me a website. And all my websites have so many letters in the domain name. And I'm like, this sucks. I'm sitting here spelling my last name. This is just not going to work. Then I went and bought 10X. And I said, this is easy. 10x.info. All there is a workshop I did on the growth formula. So there's nothing else other than my social handles. I hope people take advantage of it and learn more on how they can scale and then, prosper.
Great. We'll put that in the show notes. Thanks very much.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
And for our audience, we'd greatly appreciate a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. More reviews means we bubble up higher in iTunes, etc. So more business owners looking for podcasts to help with their growth will find us.